Tennessee's spring game is in the books. Blake Topmeyer with Mike Wilson of the Knoxville News-Sentinel. Mike, we'll get to the game in a minute, but I think really Jeremy Pruitt's post-game comments were maybe one of the more interesting things of the day. He kind of put his team on blast afterwards, saying that he thought some guys flat out quit today, and he also questioned the fan turnout at today's spring game as well.
It was bizarre. I mean, the team comment was fair. If you see some players that aren't competing, he's a guy that's going to call them out. He's clearly been that way. He wants his players to compete. He's a competitor. It adds up. He saw some guys that didn't do that today, and he's made it known to them, it sounds like, if you aren't out here competing, we're getting more freshmen in here soon, some grad transfers expected as well, who will compete. So it kind of made that known, but the fan base comment was interesting. I mean, the announced attendance was 65-some thousand.
That was a farce.
Grossly exaggerated. Yes. Grossly exaggerated. It was a good turnout.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that with the traffic getting in here. We saw it with the Vol Walk. Good turnout. 65,000 even announced is a great number. But he kind of went off on the fans a little bit there, just saying, where were you? Like, if you weren't here and didn't have a good reason, where were you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it was a beautiful day out in East Tennessee. Could have gone hiking. There's a lot of things that could have been done, but yeah, he wasn't pleased with that, and I don't think that was the wisest comment to make.
Well, and the other thing, too, is when you look at the way he navigated the spring, everything was all about ball. Mm-hmm. And you take that into today, he took away the autograph session that's traditionally part of this game, which maybe to him wasn't a big deal, but I think to some fans could be a big deal. He muzzled his players throughout the spring. For 2 weeks, he was the only guy talking to the media. And I think players speaking can kind of help drum up a little bit of excitement. You get a little bit more coverage of the players, more interesting content, and it's harder to do when he's the only voice. And so whether that played into anything or not, I don't know, but I think it's kind of talking out of both sides of the mouth when you want to see more fans there, but what are you doing to drum up support?
It was a personality-less spring. I mean, realistically, it was, we're here to play football, which, again, he wants to be about football, that's fine. But yeah, what you're saying, you've got to get some fans excited about it. You've got to get people into it, and it was a good turnout.
Yeah, overall,
I think it's got to be viewed as a good turnout. But man, yeah, criticizing fans for a good turnout at your first spring game after a 4-8 season, not great.
Yeah, after a season the way it was, I think there were more people here today than honestly I expected. I mean, the lower bowl was largely full, so I think the crowd was okay to maybe a little better than okay. Getting on to the game, final score was 34-7. Really what that is the first-team offense had its way with the first-team defense for much of the day. And that's kind of one of the weird things about spring games. As a fan, I don't know if you're really sure, if you're a fan that attends this, do you walk away excited about the first-string offense, or do you walk away concerned about the first-string defense? Probably maybe
people
a little
like
bit of
points.
both. Yeah.
People like points.
Jarrett Garantano looked decent today, more good than bad, I thought. And to me, the biggest thing is there's no question he exits the spring as the starting quarterback.
It's got to be. Jeremy Pruitt wasn't willing to say as much afterward, but again, I don't think we expect him to say, Jarrett Garantano is my QB1 right now. They still got Keller Chris coming into the summer. That will factor into there as well. But Jarrett Garantano did a little bit of a shaky start first quarter. Callaway made a great play on that touchdown that wasn't really a great throw. Missed a couple throws, but for the most part, settled in and looked like a competent quarterback and looked comfortable, which I think was the biggest thing. He didn't look comfortable very often last year behind a really shaky offensive line. Still shaky offensive line out here today, but he looked a lot more confident and comfortable. I don't know if not getting hit, being allowed to be hit factors
helps
into that, but he looked pretty good. I think you leave the spring saying, all right, feel good about that.
And maybe the biggest thing for me was Garantano took all the snaps with the first-string offense, and Will McBride took all the snaps with the second-string offense. Yeah.
Will McBride did not. Jeremy Pruitt referenced Will McBride without saying it. Just too many. I call them long foul balls. Throws from the quarterback is a defense you love because he's laying out of bounds harmlessly. And Will McBride had an alarming number of those today.
And Garantano had some as well, but McBride with a couple interceptions. One, you could say Tyler Bird maybe should have caught the pass. It was thrown behind him, hit him in the hands, but the other one, was just a bad pick. And so overall, Garantano, much better run of play today than McBride, and no question he's the man to beat in the offseason, I think, for that job.
I will say one, Garantano's last touchdown pass should have been picked off at Cortez Sapp.
Great catch by Eli Wolf.
Behind Eli Wolf made a catch, but went right over Cortez Sapp's head.
Yeah.
And that's a play that the linebacker underneath has got to make.
Offensive line, you kind of alluded to, the pass protection maybe could have been a little bit better, but I thought in the run game, the starting offensive line looked really solid, especially considering no Trey Smith, no Chance Hall, a couple guys that if healthy next fall could be starters. Well, Trey Smith definitely will be a starter.
Will be the guy.
Yeah. And overall, Tim Jordan and Ty Chandler looked pretty good, the first-string running backs working behind that line. And defensively, much of the front seven is back from last year. So I would have thought it was the front seven that had the advantage today, but it wasn't that way.
And that's concerning, too, on the defensive side, because the run defense last year was just atrocious, and it didn't look very good today either. And against an offensive line that's in pieces still and not very polished, I guess, to be the friendly way of saying it. The defense should have dominated that matchup, you would think. But, I mean, all spring, Jeremy Pruitt has kind of said the offense is winning a lot of this. And, I don't know, it seemed like spin maybe expected more out of the defense. But it looked today like what he was saying was definitely what was happening out there.
Yeah, I thought maybe those comments were an exaggeration on the defense because of his defensive background, being a former defensive coordinator. I thought, well, maybe he's just being too hard on the defense, and the defense is going to come out and win the day. But it wasn't that way. Certainly the first-string offense looked better than that first-string defense. And also the first-string offense protected the football. You know, as you said, Garantano had a couple passes that were kind of close, but at the end of the day, they didn't turn the ball over. And that was a good sign, and they moved it pretty well. And special teams-wise, Brent Smaglia hit a couple field goals. So
40-plus yarders, yep.
So more good than bad offensively, defensively. It's kind of the other way around. For all the coverage of today's game, go to GoVolsExtra.com.